Once in a while, bad things happen with the CNC machines. They break. And unfortunately, that's part of the process. And if one breaks, then you have to be able to diagnose the different problems to be able to solve the problem. Sometimes it's an easy fix. Sometimes it's a little bit more complicated. Well, the FOXAlien XE Pro 8040 has actually broken. And after a number of different diagnostics and tests that we've done, I've determined that I believe it is the control board inside of the controller. And today I'm going to show you exactly how we're going to take a brand new controller and replace the old one that is damaged and does not allow this machine to move at all. Now we have to take off this cover, and there's a series of screws like this on both sides. So I'm going to remove these screws and remove this cover so that we can gain access to the inside of this controller. Before working on the controller, you want to make sure that first you unplug this controller and set this cord out of the way. You do not want any power at all going to that controller. I want to give a special shout out to the folks at the FOXAlien service team. They did a remarkable job to help me diagnose the problems. I had gone through a series of tests on my own, and when I reached out to them and said this is what I've done so far, they made some suggestions on some other items to check, and together we determined it was the control board. And they were kind enough to be able to work with me, help me solve the problem, and get a new control board sent to me. So again, I want to give a very big thank you to all of the people at the FOXAlien who helped solve this problem and helped me get this machine back up and running. So again, thank you very much. Now that all the screws are removed, this just lifts straight up and off. And we can set this out of the way so we can gain access to inside of this controller. Inside the controller is actually fairly simple. We do have a little circuit board up here that has the display so that you can control the controller manually. You have the power supply, and back here you have the control board itself that we're going to be replacing. All of the various cables that come into the back will just feed down and plug into the control board. Of course, you're going to have the fan that helps cool everything. And then this is the plug right here that brings the power in, and it has your off and on switch. So if you look at this, it's actually a quite simple design. The control board is held on with 4 different screws, one on each of the corners. On the different connectors, you have looks like some rubber cement or some type of a glue to make sure that they don't unintentionally come loose. So we'll have to remove that so we can free up these pins to be able to unplug them. Now, one of the things I want to be able to show you up close, and I don't know if I can get it up close, you can actually read exactly what each plug is for. These, which are not being used on this controller, are the reset, the pause, and the resume buttons. But that is something that actually could be added if you wanted to. On this side, you can see everything that's plugged in. That has the E-stop, it has the probe, has the Z, Y, and the X limit plug-ins right there. So you can see if the control board is clearly labeled exactly where each of the wires go and plug in. On this side of the control board, you can actually see where it has the X, Y1, and the Z-axis be able to go to the stepper motors. I always like to verify that this is the correct controller, and the first thing you're going to read is the XE Pro, and then we can verify these different plugs as being the same position, same here, and I showed you a minute ago this was the Y1, this is the Y2. So everything is exactly the same. So now we need to go ahead and remove the old control board. Now the first thing I'm going to do is roll this over on its side, and that will give me access to the 4 screws that hold the controller in. I'm using a little small screw gun to be able to remove these screws. It's just easier. It's not required, but it definitely makes it easier. Now, one of the cautions that I want to give to you is these are metal screws, and they are screwed into a little plastic nut on that control board. Now, taking them out is not a big deal, but putting them back in could definitely be a problem because a metal screw easily could strip out the little threads in that little plastic nut. So I'm going to give you a heads up now to be very cautious, and again, when we're putting this back together, I'm going to remind you one more time to be very careful putting in the metal screws into those little plastic nuts. Now you want to very carefully remove this glue or rubber cement so that these pins right here will be able to move inward to release this plug. Now this glue is all around this whole joint, so we'll need to very carefully remove that, because even if I can squeeze these pins in to be able to release it, it's still not going to unplug until this glue is removed. And it just takes a little bit of work to be able to remove the glue, and just take your time with it. And once you get started, it'll start pulling apart and go from one to the other, hopefully. Now this side is completely released, and I'll need to work on this side just to be able to get underneath this glue and lift it up, just like that. Now this pin will be able to come out. Now I'm going to continue to work down so that I can remove all of this. And I'll take this out all at one time. Once I could lift that up, then that whole section came out. And that, just like that, that whole section came loose, all in one piece. Okay, so these will stay in order, and this is the E-stop wire that will go right there. Now we want to make sure we save these parts, because they will go on to the new board. Now the other one came off and dropped down in there, so it's going to be okay. We're not going to lose it. You're going to see how this is coming off as one group. So that'll be clear. That's clear now. I tried to zoom in real close so you can see exactly what's taking place, but hopefully you can see that this glue or this rubber cement, I'm not sure what it is, actually will come off fairly easy. Just takes a little bit of patience, and it will free these pins up so that they can unplug. So I can unplug these now. The Y2 connector that was behind the Y1 did not have any glue on it. As I unplug these green pins, I want to be able to mark them. So this will be number 1, and I'll mark 2 and 3 as well. And this will be number 3. And I need to do the same thing with this one. Now I've labeled each one of these. This is a Z, this is the Y1, this is the X, and the Y2 is right behind. I can use a little small flathead screwdriver to be able to lift this pin up where I can get my fingers on it. Once I lift that just a little bit, then my fingers can grab it and pull out that Y2 pin. And this cable right here goes up to the front circuit board to be able to run the display. So now let's get everything set to put in the new board. Now I want to check out everything. This is all the same, but you see these connectors here, these are actually standing up as compared to the old circuit board where they were laying down. This will be the same, and over here, that's the Z, the Y1, and the X, and this is the Y2. And all of these are the same. So this is the only thing that we'll have to deal with. And yes, I'm using the latex gloves to be able to make sure that any oils on my skin does not get on the new circuit board. It's real easy to remove this ribbon cable. Right now, plug it into the new circuit board. I did not do that. Plugging this in later is definitely a problem, so do it now. The first thing I want to do is take these little plastic legs and put those on first. And I must say it's a little bit harder to be able to put these legs on and these little small nuts with the gloves on, but quite frankly, I'd rather have the gloves on and keep the oils off that circuit board, because that is something that I think is going to be real important. So I'm just going to take it nice and slow and take one at a time to put it in. So this little leg just slips through, exposing the threaded part on the top side. I can put the nut on and literally hold the nut with my thumb and screw in that little leg. So this actually works out really easy. Now there's not a lot of room between the nut itself and some of the connectors, but still in all, using the thumb onto the nut works real well, and then I can just hand tighten them, and that's really all that's necessary. There's a little bit of that red glue on that nut, so I'll take that off. Then I'll take this little leg, slip it right through the hole so it exposes those threads, and I'll take the little plastic nut and put it right on top. And then holding it right there with my thumb, I can just screw that leg right into that nut. And that works out real well. That is really quite easy, and then I can just hand tighten it. Now that I have all four of these little nuts on, I'm going to go around and hand tighten each one of them one more time just to make sure that they're good and snug. So the first part is done. All four of the little feet are on. Now I'm going to hold the pliers on the nut and just get this a little bit tighter by hand. But that's all that I'm going to do to it. This nut can't turn around because it hits the connector, so I can just tighten it by hand. That's going to be good. I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and actually mount this in position and then just plug everything in. I had to take the glove off to be able to handle this little small metal screw, but I'm not touching the circuit board. Now I'm starting with the second screw and putting that in place. What I don't want to do is drop one of these screws. They would be hard to find on the floor. Now I only want it in loose at this point. Do not want to tighten it up. There we go. Now we'll put the other two in. To put the remaining two screws in, it's actually easier to turn this upside down. That way I can easily move the circuit board a little bit left or right as needed to be able to put that screw in. Yes, I'm using a screw gun just to barely screw it in. Again, it is still loose. I am not tightening anything with the screw gun. And now we'll put the last one in. Now all four of these are loose, and I really don't want to use the screw gun to tighten it because that's a little plastic screw head in there that I'm tightening into, and I don't want to strip it. So at this point, I'll use a regular Phillips screwdriver to tighten those. Now this nut's turning on the inside, but that's okay. We'll lay this down on its side, and we'll catch it and hold it right there. And that's all we needed to do. So all of these are now tight. So all we need to do now is plug everything in. So this will stand up on its end and plug in. Just like that. This wire will plug in this way. We'll need to put this wiring harness in. This is the only difficult one. This would probably have been a good one to put in first. Now make sure you plug in the Y2 first before you put the other 3 in. Otherwise it's going to be very difficult to be able to reach behind the other 3 plugs. As far as plugging in these 3 green plugs was not difficult at all to be able to rotate these and just plug them right in. Next, I want to plug in these along this side of the board. As I plug them in, you can actually hear them snap in position. And that way you know that they're actually locked in place and they're not going to be coming out. And no, I'm not going to be putting glue or anything like that onto these connectors. In my opinion, the primary reason to be able to secure these connectors is that during shipment, they may actually come loose. And you certainly don't want to have that happen. So I have the E-stop, I have the limit switches plugged in, I have over here all of the stepper motors. This is all plugged in, that's in, and this control board here is installed. So everything is reconnected, the circuit board is tight. It's time now to see if it's going to work. Okay, I've turned it on, and I've got the fan blowing. I have the LED light working. I'm going to switch from PC over to the controller mode. So you can see I had the FOXAlien logo up, and now I have the control panel, so I can select home, and we'll find out if this machine will actually move and home. And as you can see that the machine is going through the cycle, and it is now at the front left-hand corner, but you'll notice that the Z-axis actually moved down rather than up. And that was one of the problems when this board was going out. Now, one of the problems that I had run into when this control board was going out is that the Z-axis actually had reversed, and I changed it in the software. So I'm going to get the computer and we'll reverse that so that it'll go up instead of down. Easy fix. Now the first thing you see is the alarm. So I hit unlock, and now it moves into the idle. Now I can hit move, and now I can move on the X and the Y axis. So the first step is to select the step, and then I can push this button to be able to get it to the millimeters that I want. And when I select 10 millimeters, it will move 10 millimeters. So that's doing exactly what it should be doing. If I go to the Y axis, I'll push this. Perfect. We'll go back to the left on the X axis. Yes, and on the Y axis, or the Z axis, you see how it's going up and it should be going down. I'll get into the software and make that change, and this will be working as it should. Now that I know that the control panel is working, let's switch over to the PC and connect the computer. Okay, I've turned the computer on. I've opened the Open Build software. First thing we want to do is connect the CNC machine to the computer. And we have this button right here that says unlock with the alarm. So I'll click that. And now the machine is free to move. But I want to change the Gerbil settings. So we're going to go into the advanced settings, and we're going to scroll down to the $3. That is the one we need to switch. Now I'm going to set this into the normal mode on the Z-axis. So we'll just turn that switch on, and that takes care of it. That's the one that I had changed when the control board was going bad. So with that now changed, we'll save, and we'll confirm this, that it'll make the changes to the settings, and then I can go back to the machine control. And at this point, I can test out the Z-axis, and yes, it is moving in the correct direction. So let's test this one more time. I'm going to hit Home All, and you can see that the Z-axis is moving in the upward direction. And now it's going to move on the X-axis as well as the Y-axis to this front left-hand corner. So the homing cycle is now complete. So I'm going to go ahead and move this over. So that all looks real good. And we'll hit home again. To put the cover back on, I want to turn off the machine so that there's no power going to it, and then I'll put the cover on. I don't want to take a chance on having a screw drop and have it hit the circuit board and cause a problem. So that's on there like that. And again, I'm going to put in all of the screws loosely, and then I'll tighten them up. So all of these are now in, and they're all loose, and I'm going to do the same thing to the back side. The easiest way to gain access to this back side is actually to lay the controller over on its side, and then I'll do the same thing. I'll just put all the screws in. Once I have all of these screws in loosely, then I'll go through and tighten all of them. And this project is finished. So as you can see, it's really not difficult to be able to replace that control board. You just have to be very careful to make sure that you take it step by step and make sure that you have the different plugs marked so you make sure that they go back in exactly the same way. In addition to that, I did check to make sure on the circuit board itself where it was printed exactly what it was, that it did match the new board. Once that was done, it really wasn't a difficult task. So now we know that the machine is working, and I can put it back into use and start doing some additional projects. I want to give a special shout out to the folks at the FOXAlien. They did a wonderful job in assisting me in being able to get this CNC machine back up and running. Now, there was a lot of diagnosis that I had done before I had contacted the FOXAlien folks. And at that point, it was very easy to be able to do the few remaining items that they wanted me to check. Once that was done, we were pretty well set on the fact that the control board did go out, and they sent me another one. And I really appreciate them doing that and working with me, and that shows just how good their service department is. I have nothing but high praise for them. So again, thank you to all of the folks at FOXAlien. Now, if you want to take a look at some other videos where I've put together and assembled the FOXAlien machines and done numerous projects on the FOXAlien CNC machine, take a look right up here at the videos in this section, and you'll be able to learn exactly how to set up the machine and get it operating. And this one, now if you do ever have a problem, you'll know how to change the control board. So I want to thank everybody for watching this video today. So I look forward to seeing each and every one of you in the next video, whatever that happens to be. So for now, bye-bye everyone. See you real soon.